Okay, so we all know that being strong is good for us, right? It's a key to a healthy life. But here's the thing. The rules for building that strength, they're not one size fits all. They change, and they change a lot as we go through life. Today, we're going to map out a blueprint for what lifelong strength really looks like, from when we're kids all the way to our later years. I want you to just let that question sink in for a second. We're always on the lookout for that next magic pill, that next health breakthrough. But what if one of the most powerful tools we have has been right in front of us this whole time? I mean, the research is clear. Resistance training is one of our best weapons against chronic disease, and it's directly tied to being more mobile and independent, especially as we get older. This isn't just about looking good or building muscle. It's about building a better, longer life.
So where does a journey like this even begin? Well, it starts young. It starts in our youth. And this is where we run headfirst into one of the oldest, most stubborn myths in the entire fitness world, this idea that lifting weights is somehow dangerous for kids.
Yeah, let's just blow that myth right out of the water with some facts. The science is overwhelming at this point. When it's properly supervised, resistance training isn't just safe for kids. It is incredibly good for them. Injury to growth plates, that thing everyone's always worried about, it has never been reported in any youth training study that actually followed the established guidelines. Not once. And this is a really, really important distinction to make. When we talk about youth resistance training, we are not talking about competitive bodybuilding or powerlifting. The goal isn't to see who can lift the absolute heaviest weight. Not at all. The whole focus is on learning good technique, on developing motor skills, and honestly, the most important part, making it fun. Getting this right is more critical now than ever, and it's because of a very modern problem called exercise deficit disorder, or EDD. All that means is that most kids today just aren't getting the 60 minutes of activity a day that they need. And this isn't some harmless little phase they'll grow out of. It can set up a pattern of being inactive that can create health problems for decades. And the benefits of getting this right, the payoff is huge. We're talking stronger bones, better coordination, even a lower risk of getting hurt in other sports. But the biggest win might be this last one. You're building a positive relationship with being active that can literally last their entire life. Now that is a foundation worth building. All right, as we move on from youth into adulthood, I want to zero in on women's health for a bit, because strength training becomes this incredibly powerful tool for navigating a couple of major physiological challenges, the risk of osteoporosis and that big transition through menopause. And look, the stakes here are they're incredibly high. 1 out of every 3 women over the age of 50 is going to have a fracture because of osteoporosis. This is not a small problem. These fractures, especially a hip fracture, can completely change someone's quality of life and can even lead to a higher mortality rate. It's a silent threat, really, right up until that devastating moment a bone breaks. So, how does this happen? This chart kind of lays it all out for us. You can see how things like aging and other risk factors all lead to more bone loss and lower bone quality. And that creates what's called skeletal fragility, which basically means bones become weak and super vulnerable to fractures, even from something like a minor slip. The whole idea is to jump in right here, you see, before that fracture ever has a chance to happen. So how do we fight back? Well, we build up what you could call our bone bank by using impact. But it's not just about doing one kind of exercise. The research is pretty clear that a combined approach is the way to go, mixing high-impact stuff like jumping rope with agility drills and, of course, strength training. It's the variety, that combination, that really stimulates our bones to get stronger.
Okay, the next big challenge is menopause. That drop in estrogen that happens during this time can really throw a woman's metabolism for a loop, and that often leads to gaining weight, especially around the midsection, which unfortunately is a big risk factor for chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol.
But here's the really good news. This is not a foregone conclusion. A 5-year study actually proved that this weight gain can be prevented. And the solution wasn't some crazy, complicated protocol. It was a straightforward 2-part lifestyle change. Just consistent, moderate-intensity exercise paired with a healthy diet. It just goes to show that with the right strategy, women can take control of this transition. Okay, let's move into our final life stage, older adults. And here, the whole game changes. The focus of strength training really zooms in on one thing, one central goal: maintaining independence and empowering a high quality of life for as long as we possibly can.
But, and this is a big but, this slide shows us a pretty shocking reality. Despite all the incredible benefits we know about, only about 9% of adults over 75 are actually doing enough muscle strengthening activity. That is a massive gap between what we know works and what people are actually doing.
And the fallout from this inactivity? It's serious. There's a condition called sarcopenia, which is just the medical term for age-related muscle loss. This isn't just about feeling a little weaker. It literally doubles the risk of having mobility problems down the road. And it's a huge contributor to devastating falls, which are one of the main causes of disability for older men and women.
So what's the battle plan? Well, the National Strength and Conditioning Association has this fantastic three-part solution. It's not just about strength. It's a combination of strength, power, and balance. Strength training is what builds and keeps that muscle. Power training, now that's for function. That's your ability to move quickly, like getting up out of a low chair without using your hands. And then balance training directly tackles fall prevention. So what does this actually look like in practice? We're talking 2 to 3 days a week, starting out at a low intensity, and then gradually getting more challenging as you adapt. You'll see the standard sets and reps for major muscle groups, but look at that last line. The secret sauce, really, is adding in those power exercises, moving explosively but with lighter weights. That has a massive impact on being able to do all the normal activities of daily life. So when we step back and look at the whole picture, it becomes really clear, doesn't it? From our first years to our last, strength training isn't just one thing. It adapts, it changes to meet the unique challenges of every single stage of life, giving us this cohesive blueprint for health and vitality. Let's just quickly run through the big takeaways. For kids, it's all about safe, supervised training that builds a foundation for a healthy life. For women, it's an amazing tool to protect your bones and to manage the metabolic shifts that come with menopause. And for older adults, that mix of strength, power, and balance, that is the trifecta for staying independent and living a high-quality life. So, I want to leave you with this thought. We spend so much time planning, right? We plan for our financial future, for our careers, for our families, but our physical health is what underpins everything else. So try to think of this not as just exercise, but as a critical long-term investment in your own well-being. What's your strategy going to be?